Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our webinar this morning for SOLIDWORKS. Our topic today is Discover Advanced Data Management with SOLIDWORKS Manage. I'm Joelle Guenette. I'm the Territory Manager for Eastern Canada, so Ontario to the Maritimes, and with me is Michel Cloutier, technical resource for this, as he's a solutions manager, and we will invite him later on to come on and present this solution for us. If this is your first time using GoToWebinar, I'm going to take just a few minutes to go over the features of the tool so that you have better appreciation of this experience. You have a panel on your right-hand side for the tool. There is an orange arrow that at any time you can click on to minimize the panel so that you can see the presentation in full screen. There's also different audio options. So computer audio is the typical one as people are looking at this through the internet and would use the computer audio to go with it. If for some reason it's not coming through clearly, you can always switch to phone call. The access phone number and code will be displayed then in the window. Please pay attention to the area code that's listed there, as it may be a long distance call if you choose that option. Below that, there's some handouts. So there's two different documents that are available today that you can download at any time during this presentation so that you have for reference later on. And the most interesting part of this for us is the question section. As we host many of these webinars to introduce different solutions, maybe new solutions to you from the SOLIDWORKS portfolio. We do this for you, and we want you to get the information you need. So if there's questions that you can think about as we go through this, please don't hesitate to type them in there. If we have time at the end, we'll go through them. If not, we can always take it offline and address them with you individually afterwards. So data management. As I was thinking about data management and SOLIDWORKS Manage in general, it brought me to in March when the pandemic started and we were all kind of confined at home and we all got to know our live environment more so because we were there all the time. I think we all got to realize that there may have been some projects that had been left unattained to, and we wanted to get to them. And it may have been organizing a room, organizing files, organizing something on your personal computer, but it all had to do with organization because we have a lot of things. And when we translate that to our work environment, we need to do the same, right? We need to be organized, and it's the same way as our living space. Maybe there's things that we've just put off over time that we haven't gotten to as projects to get things organized. And we'll show you a way to, or a tool that can help you do that. As your company grows or as your company evolves in time, what you're sure to be to have is documents. More and more documents are going to come as you develop, and these documents may come from your obviously your CAD design. If you're doing simulation, you've got some more documents. It could be deliverables to your customers in terms of documentation, bills, purchasing orders, all sorts of files that are coming through your enterprise. So that's one aspect of your business that you definitely want to get under control. But as you get all these documents, there's processes that these go through, or just processes in general to keep your business organized. And these can get very complex, and different documents may have different processes. Some processes may not include documents at all. So this becomes very confusing and very complicated to organize, especially as your company grows, and they may link different departments, different people, and you want to try and find a way to do all of that. So when we look back at the left-hand column of documents, we've gotten that under control, and that's our PDM solution. So if you've seen our webinars before, because we've done a number of them on PDM, we've addressed how you can do this with our PDM solutions, whichever one that you may choose to have from the past or to have adopted. We've got this covered. This is an area that we've got covered completely. And the next step for us was really the processes. And as much as our PDM solutions do handle some of these processes and workflows, we needed something else, and SOLIDWORKS Manage is there to fit that bill and to look more at the engineering business processes that support your company, what surrounds all of these files or non-files, and what has to happen. And so today we're not going to focus on the PDM. We assume or hope that you already know what that offers. And if not, again, we've got webinars for that. We're going to focus on what SOLIDWORKS Manage adds to that solution, adds to that equation in terms of either process or project management as it touches on those. So you're going to see Michelle's going to talk about a number of different things that are capable, you're capable of exploring with SOLIDWORKS Manage. Keep in mind that the customers that have come to us and adopted SOLIDWORKS Manage have done so not for the entirety of the capabilities, but for one, sometimes two of those functionalities that are more adapted or more needed by them, because the others are either not essential or already being handled by something else. So your business is obviously running. So these are to complement or to replace to make something more effective and better for your company. So keep in mind that it's not because one doesn't fit you that you throw out the whole solution. There's other aspects, and as the presentation goes on, you may see one that fits your bill. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Michelle, who's going to go through this information. And he's been with SOLIDWORKS for 15 years, has seen PDM and data management overall not be a worry, be a huge concern. So we've seen this evolve over time, and companies are looking for more and more ways of getting this under control. And Michelle's going to show you a whole lot of that today. And I'll be back at the end of the presentation. Over to you, Michelle.
All right. Well, welcome everyone, and yeah, let's just jump in. So Joelle did a good introduction, talked about documents, which we have a good handle on using PDM Professional. But what about everything else that's not document related necessarily? And this is going to be our topic for discussion. So today, with regards to SOLIDWORKS Manage, I want to talk about files, items, processes, projects, and dashboards. So we're going to focus on these key elements. Now, before I really jump into Manage specifically, I want to discuss the first item on the list, which is files. Like Joelle mentioned, we already have a great solution to handle and manage file control, file revision. And that's in the form of PDM Standard, PDM Professional. And if you're not familiar with PDM, we've already covered this at length in one of our past webinars. So we've done quite a few webinars on PDM. And this is a list of all the webinar recordings that are on our channel currently that we've done, Joelle and I. So if you're not familiar and you want to learn more about PDM, I would encourage you to go and watch, maybe one or some of these webinars to make your mind around what PDM is and what PDM does. So I don't want to really come back to that today. I really want to talk about the next step, past file management. So again, when we talk about file management, we have a great tool already existing in the form of PDM Professional. What we can do there is have, workflow capabilities to, to manage all the files, whether it be SOLIDWORKS files, Composer for instructions or inspection files, or even, Microsoft Office documents can be controlled within the PDM system. That's where we're going to have a full version and revision control. And also with the implementation of the Web 2 portal, the web portal, we can actually have access to all that data pretty much anywhere you want through just a web client. Now, that's going forward. That's where we actually get into SOLIDWORKS Manage. The idea with SOLIDWORKS Manage is really to extend the capabilities of PDM Professional into some of the other things that we're going to talk next. Now, before I do that, I actually want to launch a quick poll and see who here, let me pull out my little poll, and I'm going to ask the help from everyone on the session today to vote. I'm just curious to see if you're actually using a PDM system today. There's not, good or wrong answers to this. I just want to have a little overview of the audience. So thank you. I'm actually seeing people already started voting. So I'm seeing the numbers, and I'll show the numbers. I'm not concerned with keeping this to myself. So I'll give actually like three-fourths of everyone already voted. So I'll give a couple more seconds for everyone to put in their vote, and I'll share that. So far, actually, I see a large uh, percentage of PDM Professional users on the line today, which is great. So let's close that poll, and I'm going to share the results, and you should be seeing the results. So looking at those results, we have, okay, so I was expecting a number of you that are not using PDM, but there's actually a good number of you using either SOLIDWORKS PDM Standard, PDM Professional, or one of the older system PDM Workgroup, which is great. So more than half of you here are using a PDM system. So you're already familiar with data management, which is great, which is awesome. So let's hide this and come back to actually focus on really what I want to discuss today, which is SOLIDWORKS Manage. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is items. And that's going to be one of the capabilities where we extend beyond PDM capabilities. Now, in PDM, everything is file-based, right? You always have a file for something. It's a SOLIDWORKS part, you got a file for it. But start thinking about things that you don't necessarily model or don't have a file for inside SOLIDWORKS, like glue, like Loctite, grease. Maybe if you're shipping a design or shipping equipment, there might be a box. Maybe there's bubble wrap. There's a cost to all these items. You might have to ship wires or cabling included with your equipment for on-site installation. You don't model that, but there's a cost associated with that. Now, what's great about items is that you can actually create all of those items in Manage and create a complete bill of material for your shipping component versus the mechanical component. So let's take a look at this. I'm gonna simply turn off my webcam a little bit here. We're gonna look at how to actually add non-modeled items in a bill of material. So inside of Manage, I'm going to create a bill of material that includes my mechanical design, which is my SOLIDWORKS file. So I have this structure, and because it's built on top of PDM, my data is already in PDM, and now I can go into my library of items. And in that library, I have commodity items, and in that, I have line elements for Loctite. So I'm gonna add some Loctite, and also going to add some wire gauge, 16 gauge wire. I'm gonna add 3 of them because that's required for my installation when I go on site. So now, using SOLIDWORKS Manage, I can actually have non-modeled items accounted inside my shipping bill of material. Now, what's also great about SOLIDWORKS Manage is that we can also create BOM variants. So for example, you might have, if you're shipping your product in North America, the shipping BOM is going to be different than the BOM if you ship the same equipment in Europe, because some of those components might have to be different. So what we can do with SOLIDWORKS Manage is I'm going to start with taking my BOM that I ship for North America, copy it, and create a variant for my European BOM. And then I can go in and change maybe some of those suppliers or some of those components that are not on the European market for European native type of components. I can also come in and replace library items. For example, the packaging is going to be different if it's shipping in Europe versus shipping inside of North America or Canada. So quickly I can create variants of these bill of materials, and I can even go as far as comparing multiple bill of material variants. So for example, I want to put both my European shipping bill of material side by side with my North American shipping bill of material. I can put both of these bill of materials side by side and see what's different about each of these bill of materials. Now, I want to take another second here because this actually came in a couple of times where I visited customers and they manufacture equipment, and when they ship the equipment to their client X, that client X is requiring them to have that brand of roller bearing inside the equipment and that brand of components that they replace, because client X has standardized all their manufacture, their business around that specific brand. And the same equipment, when they're shipping to client Y is using a different type of roller bearing from a different supplier. So this customer now has the same equipment, but whether they're shipping to client A or client B, it has different variants of the same bill of material, because one of them is asking for SKF bearings and the other one is asking for another brand bearing, right? So this is a great way to actually manage some of those variants using SOLIDWORKS Manage. Now, getting back into SOLIDWORKS Manage, what we can also do that's possible is to have multi-discipline BOM. So think about a mechanical BOM that you want to integrate with the electrical or PCB BOM. So for example, I'm going to start by capturing or creating a new bill of material that combines both mechanical and electrical disciplines. The mechanical side of things is very easy. It's inside PDM, so I can simply search for inside my PDM vault. And for my assembly, I select the assembly. It's going to gather everything inside the assembly, and then I can simply go in and select my PCB board and add all the components in that PCB board. So now I have a multi-discipline bill of material. Some of it is mechanical, some of it is electrical. So I can compile all that information into a single BOM structure. And then reporting. Reporting is extremely powerful. There's different types of reports, but one of them here is to pull out a bill of material report. So from that product, I can simply say I want to run a report. I'm going to use the template, which is a shipping BOM, and very quickly I've got everything required for shipping with costs. It's basically a checklist. Everything in that checklist with numbers and quantities, everything is in there in my shipping bill of material report. Now, what we can also do with SOLIDWORKS Manage is also connect Manage with other systems. So I spoke already at length of bill of materials. So when we create those bill of materials in SOLIDWORKS Manage to the left, we can easily transfer these to your ERP system to the right. And typically we'll use a neutral format like XML. It could be another format, but that's going to be one of the standards we use to exchange information. But on the other hand, the ERP system has information we need inside SOLIDWORKS Manage. The ERP system has supplier information, it has cost information for purchased parts. So we can also pull in that information from the ERP system back inside of SOLIDWORKS Manage. So when we talk about items can actually be a great number of things, but it allows us to extend the engineering bill of material by combining non-modeled items with the SOLIDWORKS bill of material. You can also create variants very easily without having to do that in the CAD tool, without having to do that inside of SOLIDWORKS. You can do it simply inside of Manage and capture everything you need there. And also the ability to communicate with other systems, business systems like ERP systems. Now, another big aspect of SOLIDWORKS Manage is processes. Like Joel mentioned earlier, PDM manages files, but how about managing a change notice or a corrective action plan or a warranty ticket, right? There's no files associated with those. So what we can do is that we can actually manage these processes, and documents can be attached to it if it has to. So here's an example. Someone in the service department created a engineering change order because they got a call and some of the components are returning because there's the tolerance for it's a miter saw and the tolerances aren't good when we cut at an angle. So let's go ahead and open up this ECO. So that was created by someone in maybe servicing or something like that. So when I open the ECO by simple double click, I can see who created the change order. There's a bit of information there. So there's a description. What is it about? So we can see that it's not holding tolerances. There's a cost estimate to that as well. Now, someone created that ECO, but they're not the one that's going to fix it. If it's someone in servicing and that got a warranty call, they're not going to be fixing the problem. It's going to be engineering that's going to fix the problem. So at engineering, as an engineering manager, I'm going to accept this ECO and add details to start the process of fixing the actual issue. So as an engineering manager, I can come in and I'm going to say I'm going to accept the process. And then I'm going to add a bit more detail, technical detail, right? So this is related to a SOLIDWORKS design part. So I'm going to say if we add ribs to the casting, it's going to be stiffer. We're going to solve this issue. What do I do with the items in design, in the field, and on order? Do I keep them, scrap them, modify them? And then I can even assign this job, if you want, to myself or to one of my engineers in my team. Now, so far, there's no files attached to this process just yet. I'm just documenting the process with key elements, but there's no files attached yet. That's going to be our next step. Now, I know this is related to a SOLIDWORKS design, so then I can go in and say, well, to this process, I'm going to look into my PDM vault, search for the part in question. So I can simply use the search, select it. Before I confirm, I want to have a nice 3D preview. So easily we can view the file inside of SOLIDWORKS Manage. And I simply attach this file, this part file, to the ECO process. But the part file isn't the only thing that needs to be addressed. The part file is going to have a drawing. The part file is in an assembly. And there might even be some documents attached to the part, like inspection documents or maybe a spec sheet or something like that. So I can actually come in and say, by a simple right click, I want to add related document. I use a where use. The where use you're probably using inside of PDM if you already have PDM, and then references to that file. So I can do that all at once, captured in the same process. So now I've created that process and I've attached all the files needed to move that process along and to send it to the next stage. Now, again, because we're built right inside or on top of PDM, this actually affects the workflow. So that process can actually kick a transition into PDM. So these files, because now I've accepted this process and I need to change them, if we look inside of PDM, you'll see that they automatically went into a state change, and now they're under change because they're part of the ECO process. Now, if I fast forward a little bit, and we're gonna fast forward as if I've completed the change. So like I said, fast forward a little bit, and I'm opening up my change order and accept the changes, and I'm simply going to put in a comment saying that the changes have been made as requested. And then I'm going to send that to the next stage. So basically I'm approving the new design. Now I'm doing that all within SOLIDWORKS Manage, but on the back end, remember these files are in PDM. So what's going to happen is that those files are also being transitioned inside of PDM to the approved state with the next revision assigned to them. Now, the other thing too, you saw reporting with bill of material. We can also do reporting on processes like those ECOs. So if I go back to my ECOs, I can simply right click and say run report. I got a template for my ECNs and ECOs. And very quickly, I got a change notice that has all the information on it, including all the components that were affected, all the files that were affected, and even some of the files that were either removed, modified, or deleted from that ECN. So really the ability within SOLIDWORKS Manage with processes is to have states and decision points for all business or types of business processes. It's not limited to, traditional engineering. It really involves pretty much all the business. You can attach the affected items and control your PDM workflow. So a SOLIDWORKS Manage process can kick a PDM workflow, right? So there's automation in doing that. And also, again, the powerful reporting. You saw the reports are really powerful, either to do bill materials. There was another example for the ECOs, but very capable reporting possible within Manage. Now, the next thing I want to discuss is how to do project management. So if you're involved into project management today, you're likely using maybe Excel spreadsheets to manage the tasks, the timeline. Maybe Microsoft Project is a tool that is used a lot, but none of these tools are integrated with the CAD data, with the mechanical, the design data. That's where SOLIDWORKS Manage is so different, because everything is, again, built on top of my mechanical data or my CAD data. So you see here, I got a project with some sub-projects and tasks. You see those Gantt chart, very similar to Microsoft Project. I can drag and drop to change the timeline. I see my resources, my task. So I can basically build all my, have all my project management built inside of SOLIDWORKS Manage. Now, like I said, what's great is that this is built on top of PDM Professional, so I can leverage whatever is in PDM Professional. So here's an example. I want to create a new task and assign this task to one of my engineers to run simulation on a part, because again, I've been getting some reports that it might be breaking under the wind or whatnot. So I'm going to simply create a new task called simply simulation. In my notes, I'm going to add a bit more information. I want to run simulation to ensure the integrity of the casting. I think that's going to take 2 days to do. And on that, I'm going to attach my simulation procedure, which is a Word document. And also, going back to PDM, I'm going to attach the actual SOLIDWORKS assembly to this task and then assign the task to one of my engineers. So what's great about this is that all of this is compiled into my project, but I have attached all the documents that are already existing in my PDM Professional. Now again, fast forward a little bit, what about the assigned user? So the assigned user has been assigned a task. So how does he report that he's completed the task or spent so much time on the task? Well, that's easy because we also have timesheets. So the assigned user has a timesheet. There's a timesheet tool built within SOLIDWORKS Manage where he can report the time he spent on which day of the week, on which project, and even on which task within that project. So now that he's doing that, and all of this is compiled into my project. So if he's put in 8 hours out of 16, well, in my project's task, it's going to show that it's halfway done, right? But he could say, oh, well, it's actually completed because it was faster than I thought. So again, that will update my project. Now that's one way to manage, but another thing we can manage with projects is issues, just general issues that might arise within the project. Maybe there's a delay in shipping. Maybe there's a supplier that's going out of business. I need to find a new supplier for some of these parts. Whatever the case might be, I can actually track those issues right within my SOLIDWORKS Manage. So project management is, again, really powerful inside of SOLIDWORKS Manage. We can manage stages, timelines, milestones in a very similar fashion you would in Microsoft Project, for example. You can also allows you to have a capture your design deliverable, so you see how those projects are tracking. And then you can use the task and timesheet to track the progress, to see how far along your projects you are going along. Now, one of the last things, the last thing I'm going to show today is dashboards. So we talked a lot about functionality, but how do we expose all the data of all of this, right? So I just spoke about ECR. So here's a dashboard showing all my ECRs. So I can create those and customize those dashboards pretty much the way I want. So I can see all my ECRs, their stage, feasibility, where it came from. Is it a client issued ECR or supplier issued ECR? My closed ECR, or how many of them are approved, how many are rejected. I can even track the location from where the ECR came from. So very quickly. And again, dashboards, you can create dashboards for pretty much every aspects of your business. So that's more of a ECR dashboard to help you track the progress of ECRs. Here's another example showing product introduction dashboard. So new products, I want to see how many of them are in design, development, new concept, pre-production, production, the projected revenue, who's working in what type of those projects. So you see Paul is working specifically on new concept, while Kurt is working on design and Dave's doing a little bit of everything. So we can track that information in a dashboard and expose that dashboard if we to just have a sense of how things are going. Here's another example that's more product centric or project centric. So here I got my users. I can filter by users, who's doing what type of tasks. I'm going to actually filter to all tasks that are either in progress or not started on that specific project. And now I can see who's working on or who's yet to work on these tasks. So we can see on the top right that Alexi is working on one task, it's in progress, while Daniel has one task assigned that hasn't started yet. So all these dashboards are great just to expose the wealth of information and data that that you have to track and visualize. So it helps you obviously visualize all that data, but also track some key metrics, the metrics that you want that's important to you. And depending on what you do within the company, those metrics could be different for different people. And then allows you to make informed decisions. Now, one thing I didn't mention here is that we also introduced, since actually SOLIDWORKS Manage 2020, a dashboard viewer. So I've seen that into large engineering groups where they actually have a big screen monitor in the middle of the engineering team that shows the progress of all these these projects. So we can actually have a viewer, and if you want to see it after the webinar, I'll play a little video at the end, completely at the end, to wrap up things. So it'll show you what that viewer can do. So when we look at SOLIDWORKS Manage, so we talked about files, that's handled by PDM Professional, but we talked about items, bill of materials is a big one where you can actually create non-modeled items and add them, compile them into your bill of material. We saw we can manage process and how these processes can actually kick PDM workflow states or transitions. We talked about project management with Gantt chart and assigning tasks to users, and then dashboards, how to expose all that information to what's relevant to you. So really, that's the idea with SOLIDWORKS Manage, is really to tame all the complexity behind all the data. So when we wrap up things, we look at SOLIDWORKS Manage. So there's a couple key aspects. There's data. We know that's handled by PDM Professional, which is a requirement for SOLIDWORKS Manage, where we control CAD documents, BOMs. You can actually expand your mechanical BOM from PDM and then into Manage to add non-modeled items or consumables, things like that. Then you have projects. Again, we are expanding PDM Professional capabilities to cover, planning, do proper planning, tasks, assigning tasks, and see the deliverables. And then the last thing, or the other thing, is processes, where we can actually see, approve processes, changes, automate all of that. So that kind of wraps up what I had in line for this session. Let me see if I got questions. Okay, so I do have one question. So which ERP systems are compatible? It's not really, we don't connect directly to the ERP system. We're going to use a neutral file to push and pull information from. So it's not really a question of what ERP is compatible, is what format used to exchange information to and from those ERP systems. Like I said, XML is a format commonly used. There's other, it could be CSV, it could be other type of file. So basically what we do is that we tell Manage to create a file, an XML file with information in that file, and then we said to the ERP, go and grab this file every so often. And the same way goes to the other way, right? So if we have ERP information we want to push into Manage, we have the ERP create a file, and then Manage basically every minute or so captures this file and updates whatever information. So really, that's the best way to do it. Joelle, I think I'm gonna wrap things up. So I can let
wrap
you
things
do
up.
the, yep.
All right, sounds good. Great information as always. If there are more questions, then you can either address them with your reseller. You can email us directly if you wish to do that. So different options that are open to you. Keep in mind that Michelle has given you an overview of what's possible, but that is only very specific examples of what's possible. This is data management. So whatever data you have and however it can be manipulated, then this solution can be configured to do that. So it's a very flexible, and it's for you to explore and look at what you do in your company and how you could possibly take advantage of this type of tool. So let your imagination go with that. Our next webinar that we are hosting together is in August. It has to do with the cloud. Designing on the cloud. So with 3D Experience, this is different solutions that we have at SOLIDWORKS that you may or may not have seen in the past. So you're welcome to join us in August. There is an electrical webinar as well next week that does a side-by-side comparison to show the difference between SOLIDWORKS electrical and a generic tool that people use to do electrical design. So if you've gotten the invite from me, you would have seen all of those listed in the invitation. If not, you can go to your reseller and ask them for that link if you did not get it. And again, let your imagination go. Contact us, your reseller, if you want to explore this more in depth for how this would apply to your company in particular. And if there are no more questions, we'll give you back 15 minutes to your day. And we suggest that you stay cool and as
Yeah.
this heat is still upon us, and have a great summer. We'll see you on our next webinar. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.